Good morning, everyone, and a huge welcome to our February Includability Employer Support Group. If this is your first time with us on an Includability ESG, welcome to the family. It's really wonderful to have you here. And of course, to all our returning community, just incredible to have you back with us as ever. We have an amazing lineup of guest speakers for you this morning to help inspire you on your journey in creating a healthier and a more inclusive workplace culture for your business. I'm delighted to be joined by Laura Slack, B Corp expert and sustainability manager at Honeywell Bakes, Katie Maycock, stress and burnout specialist. We also have James Shorey, partnerships manager at Planet Mark and UN Race to Zero partner. And of course, the incredible Amy Polly, Chief Mindfulness Rebel, international speaker, mental health campaigner, and ADHD advocate. Now, before we begin, as always, please do feel free to introduce yourself on the chat feed. Please do connect with our brilliant guest speakers as well. They're here to support you. And don't hesitate to share your LinkedIn profile, of course, if you'd be happy to do so. We're all about facilitating great introductions at Includability. And of course, there'll also be a great opportunity to introduce yourselves in our breakout room in just under half an hour. We'll also be sharing various links in the chat feed over the course of the ESG, but please don't be shy. If you've got an upcoming event or some great news that you'd love to share, then please don't hesitate to pop that into the feed. We absolutely love shouting about all the incredible work of our Includability community. Chris, our brilliant comms manager, will of course be dropping gold into the chat feed, upcoming events, celebration days, resource links, and of course supporting with any questions that you might have during the ESG. Similarly, if there's any information that you need at any point around includability or to chat through how you can perhaps become an includability committed employer, then Danny Welsh, our lovely partnerships manager, and I are yours at any time. Danny's just given us a wave. Look at that gorgeous beard. And those that know of us know how much we love a cuppa, both virtual and face-to-face. So if there's anything that we can ever do to support you, just let us know and we are absolutely there. Just a quick one on Danny. Forgive me, I know that we mentioned this on our previous ESG, but Danny's going to be taking part in the Land Aid Sleep Out next Thursday to help raise much needed funds to support young people who are homeless or at risk of homelessness. Now, I promise there's absolutely no pressure, but if there are any pennies that you're able to spare, then I know both Danny and Land Aid would be hugely grateful for your support. It's an incredible cause. It brings warmth and shelter and hope to those that need it the most. And Chris will drop that fundraising link into the chat feed for you. And so now, without further ado, I am thrilled to introduce our first guest speaker. And this is particularly pertinent as we approach B Corp month. But what is a B Corp and how do you become one? Fortunately, we have our resident B Corp expert and the sustainability manager at Honeywell Bakes, the wonderful Laura Slack, to guide us through. Laura, thank you so much for joining us, and the virtual floor is yours.
Hi, Dave. Thank you, and hello, everybody. I don't know if I can share my screen. Are you able to let me share it?
100%. Laura, you can. It's all yours.
I can now. Great. Okay. Can everybody see my very... Hang on a minute. This tech is not working for me today. Okay, can you see that okay?
Perfect, Laura, we got you. Thank you.
This is really basic because chickenpox and half-term combination completely threw me into disarray, but hopefully it at least helps a bit. So what is a B Corp? I think probably quite a lot of people on here already know what a B Corp is. But it's a business that's verified by B Lab Global, which is a non-profit global body. And these companies are verified as reaching really high environmental and sustainable performance criteria, and also transparency and accountability is a really strong thing for B Corp. The assessment process is rigorous, and companies that become B Corp certified are committed to being a force for good, is one of their main phrases, for the long term. So it's not about certifying and then you're done. It's about how you can continuously improve and run a profitable, growing business, but that does good rather than harm through the business processes. So the certified B Corporation is this logo here. So that's a company that has been verified and is certified. If you see a pending B Corp logo, what that means is that it's a company that has been in operation for less than 12 months, but that they're building the business based on the B Corp principles, but that they're not yet ready to be certified because you have to have at least 12 months worth of data. So that doesn't mean a company that's just waiting for the verification process, which can be a bit confusing. So why do businesses want to become B Corp? So there are various certifications, of course, that businesses can achieve. But the thing with B Corp is that it is a holistic assessment. So it looks at the entire business. At the moment, there's 5 categories, which are governance, workers, community, customers, and environment. Governance, environment, customers, community, and workers. I don't know if I duplicated that. But that is going to be changing. They're moving to 10 categories. But if you've heard that and you're worried about it, don't be, because that will be at least next year. Anyone who submits this year will be certifying. B Lab have just confirmed that they'll be certifying on the current system that's in place. And also, whoever certifies on this version will have 1 recertification on that as well. So the reason to become a B Corp is that holistic assessment really helps you as a business focus on your mission and your impact, and to identify where you are currently doing well and where you can improve. And you then use the B Impact assessment to help you plan for the future and continually improve. So it'd be ridiculous to say that there is a perfect business. Of course, there's no such thing. We all have an impact. But it's about reducing the negative impact and increasing the positive. So it may be how much you pay people and the difference between the top and the bottom of the pay categories, or it might be your supply chain or your manufacturing processes. There's always going to be challenges within business. And this is where the impact assessment can really help you focus on where you are doing well, but where you can improve. And then you continually use the system to get better. Also, when you become a B Corp, there's a really great community. At the moment, there's almost 2,000 B Corp certified, which is amazing. And the growth is still on every aspect. The number of BIAs that are being opened each week, the number of people certifying, it's increased from last year. Even though we're in a recession, things are difficult for business, it isn't something that's been put on the back burner, which just shows there's a real drive for it, which I think is brilliant. But there's a long way to go, because there's 5.8 million businesses in the UK. So actually 2,000 is hardly any. So we need to get more. It also really helps you show all your stakeholders that, whether that's investors, whether it's current employees or employees, like new potential employees, whether it's your supply chain, your customers, anyone who your business impacts. As the B Corp movement grows and people get to know more about it, you're proving to all of those people that you really are committed. And alongside B Corp, the business resilience builds up, which again is great for all of your stakeholders. I'm conscious of the time, I'm going to flick on. So how do you become a B Corp? So the B Impact Assessment is an online free tool, and anyone can access it, and you can make a profile, and it doesn't mean you have to become certified. It's simply free for anyone to use. You have to score at least 80, and you have to make some legal amendments, which are to your articles of association. You can find this information online, or feel free to ask me and I will send you the information. But the legal amendments are saying that you will balance people and the planet with your profit. So you'll consider that in all your decision making. I've quickly screenshot. So when you create an impact assessment online, this is the page that you will see. So it's broken down in the categories here. You can see what you've answered. And when you click on these, it expands and you get the questions. On the left here, so this is your dashboard. They all look the same. You can filter by various questions, but the bookmark report here is useful because just two quick tips before I go. The majority of the questions have a learn more button, which is really helpful because it is quite American in wording sometimes, and bearing in mind it's global, not everything relates to the UK, or you may be not sure what it means. And if you click on learn more, it will then come out with something like this. So for this question, which is about the legal amendments, it then explains what it means. So that's really useful because if you don't fully understand, then you may answer it wrong, and then potentially you could lose points when it comes to verification. And this little thing here, that's the bookmark. So if you click that, then you can then look at it on the bookmark report here. So if there's questions that you're not sure on, click that, and then you can easily go back to it. So that is B Corp in an exactly 7-minute nutshell. Please, I'll put my LinkedIn in. Feel free to get in touch if you have any questions. I'm more than happy to answer anything. And if there's enough interest, I'm quite happy to run like a free hour to go over the BIA to give some tips and so on it, if that would be helpful for anybody. Thank you.
Laura, you're amazing. Thank you so much. And incredible at breaking down what can be a really sort of quite scary, complex process into something exciting and doable. You're incredible. Thank you. And Laura actually this morning has a Honeywell Bakes hat on, and therefore has been lovely and not really promoted too much her B Corp consultancy. However, we can. So if you're thinking about becoming a B Corp and need support through the process, then Laura absolutely has you covered. She's brilliantly knowledgeable, a joy to work with, and probably one of the best people ever created. So please do reach out to her for a virtual cuppa. Laura, thank you again. Hugely appreciate it. And now for our next guest speaker. I'm delighted to introduce the amazing Katie Maycock, stress and burnout specialist, founder of the hugely successful and brilliantly titled Get Your Shit Together, and of course, one of our wonderful Includability ambassadors. Katie, it's so lovely to have you with us as always, and the virtual floor is yours.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. The fun fact about Get Your Shit Together, I actually had to do a small rebrand this year because some enterprise businesses don't like the word shit in the business name, but that's okay. We're amongst friends today, so I can really lean into the Get Your Shit Together business that I launched back in 2018. So thank you guys so much for being here, and thanks so much, Dave, for inviting me along. So as Dave mentioned, I am a stress and burnout specialist, and it's something that I'm extremely passionate about. I mean, I've personally burnt out twice, if not 3 times in my life before I actually got into a really toxic state where I was consistently burning out. So I was doing cyclical burnout. So pretty much what that means is I would burn out, my body would be absolutely ruined, my mindset would be absolutely ruined, my anxiety would be absolutely peaked, and I would step away from whatever I was doing, get a bit better, and then come back into the workplace with absolutely no one there understanding what I'd gone through, how to help me re-enter in the workplace. And what would happen is I would do the exact same thing and burn out within 6 months. So that actually happened twice, quite significantly. And I realized, you know what, I'm not the only person that's dealt with that. And I think it's really understanding just as people in general, but also understanding if we've got people reporting to us, or if we have businesses ourselves, we really have to understand stress and burnout. Because here's the thing, burnout's not going away. It's going to be around for a really long period of time. So here's a quick question for all of you guys. If you feel comfortable, pop it in the chat. When did you guys start hearing about burnout? The last 10 years, all right. 2021, 5 years. lockdown the last 2 years, 2017. When I moved from warehouse to head office, oh, okay, you're all coming in quickly. Last few years, 5 years, 4 years, COVID, right? So here's the fun fact. The term burnout has actually been around for a really long period of time. It was actually coined back in 1976 by a guy called Dr. Herbert Freudenberger. I always love saying that because his name just rolls off the tongue. But he was actually a psychotherapist who was going into corporate companies and seeing this phenomenon, which we now know as burnout. So he was looking at these specific types of people, typically your type A professionals. So the people that would typically put work over everything else, was really highly motivated, really highly strong, and was quite, really didn't have a handle of their stress. And he recognized these people were physically putting their body under so much strain that it was physically impacting them, and they were either getting sick, dying at a young age, or really impacting their physical well-being moving forward. And then he recognized, there's actually a really big thing that's happening with them, with their mindset. So if they burnt out, they went from being really highly motivated, really highly goal-orientated, really highly productive, achieving really high targets, all that kind of stuff, to recognizing, their performance had to dip. They ended up not being able to hit the same targets that they were able to hit. And they ended up, making more mistakes, being less focused, again, just not being as highly not being able to perform at the level that they used to. And then he started seeing the impact it was having on their mental health. If people went from being extremely confident, extremely outgoing, to being very anxious, very demotivated, and they started having things like apathy. And so he actually coined it back in 1976, and he's actually written a book about this, right? But it took the World Health Organization until 2019 to come out and say it was a diagnosable syndrome. So literally 5 years ago, it became a diagnosable syndrome. But we didn't really start hearing about it until COVID. Now, there's obviously people that have heard about it before then. But here's the thing, a lot of the times that people have heard about it is because they've experienced burnout. Now, if you unfortunately experienced burnout pre-2019, 1900, just imagine, to 2019, you were literally going to the doctors with all these vague issues, and the doctor's going, I don't really know how to help you. Like, it is what it is. So you had these really vague issues going, I'm just not myself. I'm physically not doing well. And there was no real way to diagnose it. And that's why moving forward to today, it's really, really important for companies to really understand stress and burnout so they can make sure that they can create an environment where people can manage their stress effectively, because that is the role of the company, right? The role of the company is to make sure you're creating an environment where people can rock up, make sure that they can perform their tasks effectively, make sure that they're remaining healthy, but also make sure that they can manage their mental health, making sure they can manage their stress and prevent burnout. On the other side, it's also encouraging the people that work within your organization, as well as yourself, to know how you can manage your own stress, because that's something that's massively important for everyone to understand. So if we just look at what burnout actually is, because I'm just going to go off on a bit of a tangent here, but I think just to understand just the basic understanding of what burnout is, and I'm going to go against the World Health Organization here if I can. So the World Health Organization says that burnout is essentially physical, mental, and emotional exhaustion from prolonged stress. That's a phenomenon that happens in the workplace. Now I'm going to ask you guys, where does your stress also come from if it's not the workplace? Where else do you feel stress from? Or do you only get stress from the workplace? Parenting, there we go. Home life, my mother-in-law, we've all got those family in-laws, right? Home, personal life, not being able to balance, parenting, home admin, family, kids. It's relentless, right? And I'm telling you this for a fact. It's not like you go into work and go, oh, okay, this is workplace stress, I'm going to go to burnout. And then it's like, oh, I've got parental stress, I'm going to do something else, right? No, what happens is your whole body's your body can't recognize the stress as in this is workplace stress, I'm going to go here. It's from another stress, I'm going to do something else, right? At the end of the day, stress is the only precursor that comes to burnout. And so managing your stress is so, so important. So what we do with Get Your Shit Together is we work in 3 pillars. So what we do is, because stress has such a profound impact on your physical health, we actually look at how we can actually build your bodies up and make sure that you can become more resilient in times of stress physically, right? So making sure that you're taking care of your diet, taking care of your sleep, taking care of your exercise in a reasonable way in a busy lifestyle to make sure that you're mitigating the impact of stress on your physical well-being, right? The second thing that we do is we build up resilient mindsets. Now, this is where it really comes into really undoing everything that we've learned about managing stress. So here's a question for all of you guys again. How many of you were sat down saying, this is why we have stress, this is how it feels like, and this is what you can do about it? Was anyone ever told that? From the lack of movement in the comment section, I'm going to say no one was ever told, this is why we have stress, this is how it feels, and this is what we can do about it, right? None of us learned it. So what have we done? We've fumbled through life, try to create these coping mechanisms to try and just get us through life, right? And a lot of these coping mechanisms can be effective, but a lot of the ones that I've seen, especially the people that do burn out, is they're really ineffective, right? We can look at, escapism, avoidance, substance abuse. We can look at what I affectionately call polishing a turd, where we all fall into the habit of that toxic positivity where we get told, just focus on the positives, don't worry about the negatives. So we don't end up dealing with our shit that ends up just piling up and overtaking our lives, right? And so this is a massive part that we do with the mindset piece. We help you break down those coping mechanisms and create more sustainable and effective coping mechanisms. And then the third thing that we do is we help build up resilient businesses. So if you are somebody that's running a business or have a team of people that are reporting into within a business, we help you create strategies and structures to make sure that you are making sure that you are creating an environment where people don't burn out. And if you do, we help you create strategies of getting those people back into the workforce so you don't lose really amazing staff, right? Because that's essentially what can happen if people burn out. You're going to lose these staff. The other thing that we do is we help teams and we help individuals create work structures so they can come into work and make sure that they're effectively working, and rather than allowing it to overtake their lives. That's essentially what I do. I feel like I've hit the 10-minute mark, and I feel like I was not meant to do 10 minutes. So I'm going to allow myself to shut up now. But if you do have any questions, I'm going to stick around and be in the breakout rooms. I do have LinkedIn, so please reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm always popping up stuff on there, but I'm also really happy to answer any questions.
Katie, you're amazing. Thank you so much. And absolutely brilliant. And you never need to stop talking. It's just absolute gold, and massively appreciate the fact that we've stolen you away. Superb and vital hot tips around what can be such a difficult area to navigate and understand. You do it beautifully always. And massively appreciate all of your time with us this morning. Thank you so much. And the timing is perfect. We are now going to head into our breakout room for the next 10 minutes. And this is a great opportunity to connect, to share best practice with all the other lovely attendees here today. We'd love you to introduce yourselves. And following on from Katie's talk, perhaps use it as an opportunity, if you're happy to reflect and share on how you manage stress within the workplace. Now, that could be for you, that could be for your team, or perhaps what you could implement, having listened to Katie this morning and drawn inspiration from her. So I'll open up those breakout rooms now and look forward to hopefully seeing you all in just a few minutes. So hope that everybody had the opportunity to connect and have some really brilliant conversations. Please do, if you feel comfortable, feel free to share any highlights in the chat feed. We'd love you to drop your thoughts in there, of course, if you'd be happy to do so. And now, as we welcome everybody back in, I'm delighted to introduce our third guest speaker, the brilliant James Shorey, Partnerships Manager at Planet Mark. Just so much love for James and the incredible work that Planet Mark do. James, welcome, my friend. Great to see you. And the virtual floor is yours when you're ready.
I started sharing my screen. Has that come through? Okay.
Yeah, that's perfect. We've got you, mate. Perfect.
Great. Well, hi, everyone. Really nice to meet you. As Dave said, I'm the partnership manager at Planet Mark. We work with Includability and lots of other companies who are aiming for net zero and aiming for their own B Corp certifications as well. So please let me know if you want to speak about that afterwards. But today, I just wanted to talk about net zero specifically because it makes up a big part of sustainability as a whole. And I know that there are many ESG people in the room, so I thought it'd be worthwhile talking about. Before we get started, though, I wanted to have one big slide with this on the front. So I know that everyone, a lot of people in the room will follow sustainability quite closely or wider ESG. So hopefully many of you might know the significance of 1.5 degrees. But for those of you who don't, 1.5 degrees is the threshold that was agreed as part of the climate accords back in, I think, 2015 at COP21. And this is the level of global warming that, as a global community, we're willing to accept. And anything beyond that is unacceptable, and we start seeing some really terrible impacts to the world. So as a global collective, we've got to try and stay within 1.5 degrees C versus pre-industrial levels. The reason why I'm talking about this is because at the start of the month, there was a report called the Copernicus Report that came out, which effectively said over the whole of 2023, the global average temperature actually breached 1.5 as a yearly average. So there's a lot of now conversations happening behind the scenes, like, oh, do we need to set a new target? What does this mean for the old targets? What does it mean for net zero and the wider ESG collective? Like, do we have to go back to Paris and come up with some new accords? So you're going to start seeing conversations like this come up more this year. You're going to start seeing a lot of questions about 1.5 degree targets and net zero over the next few years as well. What I would say, just to start with, is that the 1.5 degree target of global warming is actually based on a 10-year average. So the fact that we breached it in 1 year doesn't mean that we have breached that target that was set in Paris. It actually means that we've just had, and it actually was an El Nino year as well. So that natural cycle of the world actually has global warming as part of the cycle anyway. So this year we probably won't see as high temperatures also. But it goes without saying that it's a very bad sign that we're starting to reach these levels of global warming. What I would say is that it's not a political milestone. It's not a target that needs to be negotiated between countries. It's a planetary threshold that we should absolutely not stand for breaching. And it's something that we should really focus on doubling our efforts to actually trying to reduce our emissions and keeping below this threshold as much as we physically can do. Potentially a negative thing to start talking about, but I just wanted to lay out the scene and just say that now is even more important than ever to make sure that we're all focusing on reducing our emissions and becoming a better, more sustainable community. So I just wanted to lay that out there to start with. I specifically wanted to talk about net zero today and what it actually means. Again, I think a lot of people in the room might already know a lot of this stuff, but I really just wanted to lay it out from our perspective, like what is required to become a net zero business and how to contribute to a net zero society. So hopefully you can all see the screen here. This is the graph of what a net zero journey looks like. So in the UK, we have set a net zero target of 2050 as a country, and all businesses within the UK need to make sure we're also going down to net zero by 2050 as well, or even sooner if possible. And what that specifically means is reducing your emissions by 90% by 2050. And then there's also an interim target of 2030 where you've got to reduce your emissions by 50%. This is what the government signed us up to, and as businesses who operate in the UK, we should try our absolute best to do everything we can to reduce our emissions by that end date. But every business is different. A net zero journey for Tesco's is going to be very different to some of your net zero journeys, or an SME's net zero journey. But there are various different stages you theoretically could be at. So I want just to lay out these 7 stages theoretically that you could be at. And I want to just put it out there and ask you guys, like, where do you think you guys are on this journey? So you could either be right at the beginning and you've not made any differences. You might have made a pledge or signed up to some form of commitment or campaign. Some of you might have even started doing your carbon footprints and actually creating business strategy plans, how as a business you're going to reduce your emissions. Some might even gone further than that and created a full verified carbon, what we call a net zero transition plan, where you've set short, medium and long-term targets towards 2050, and you've set a net zero target and you've scoped that all out. And some of you might even have done that and be actioning that and on your way to achieving net zero. There's a lot of work that goes into it, but what I would say is that while the stats here are positive in one way, they say that actually a lot of businesses have set a net zero target, but not a lot have actually implemented a plan and are currently actioning that plan as well. So if you are anywhere on these latter 6 stages, you're ahead of a lot of the businesses in the UK. But I guess it's our responsibility in the global community to make sure that all businesses are at the very least starting their journey and taking their measuring their emissions and acting to reduce them. Again, a lot of sustainability ESG managers in the room, I'm sure, so you'll probably know all about scope 1, 2, and 3. But the reason why I always like showing this on the graph here, on the screen here, is just because scope 1 and 2 are all about you. They're all about the emissions that comes from your company vehicles or the building that you work in, things like that, things that you can control. But such a massive part of carbon emissions that you own actually come from your customers, your suppliers, your waste contractors, the people you travel with, the people you buy cars from. Their emissions you are responsible for as well, and they're responsible for your emissions. So you can see that it's not just about looking after your own carbon footprint. It's about, as a community, how do we work to reduce each other's carbon footprints as well. So it's a collective effort that, as the UK, as the world, we've all got to try and reduce as much as possible. And there are business benefits as well as doing the right thing and saving the planet. There are some great reasons why being a net zero business, being a sustainably focused business, just makes sense. At the end of the day, reducing your carbon and becoming a more efficient business as well. But again, I'll share all these slides afterwards, but I'm aware of time, so I don't want to overstep my boundary. The one thing I just want to mention about Planet Mark and who we are is that we've been going for 10 years, and we actually started as an offshoot of the Eden Project down in Cornwall 10 years ago, and we became our own private business, and we still certify the Eden Project as our longest running member. We now have about 850 companies across the UK that we certify, and a lot of them are now not only just measuring their carbon footprint, but on a full net zero pathway as well. And that helps not only their own business and all the benefits on the last slide, but also can help them towards their corporate business as well. Because I know that's a big part of the requirements there. One other thing I would mention is that we're partners of the United Nations Race to Zero campaign, which I'd encourage you all to look at. It's a free campaign, and they actually have a lot of guidance on how you can set a target, how you can write a good transition plan. They have some really good examples. So even for smaller businesses, you might just want to use a free carbon calculator and join the United Nations Race to Zero for free. But between those two things, you can have a really good stab at starting your net zero journey there. So that's the one piece of advice I'd give for anyone afterwards, is check out the Net Race to Zero campaign from the UN. The way that we would advise as Planet Mark for larger businesses is start your certification journey, measure your carbon footprint, set a target, start producing a strategy document, and then act on that document as well. That's effectively all it takes to become a net zero business. It's a lot more complicated than that. There's a lot of projects within that strategy, but if you follow these 4 steps, that's a great way to become a net zero business and to start making that positive change. So I just wanted to leave you with some ideas around next steps. Please talk to your clients, talk to your leadership team, talk to your suppliers, figure out who is within your sustainable community and who you can work with, and then make sure you measure your carbon footprint as well, because you can't manage what you don't measure. That's check out the Race to Zero and ask me if you have any questions as well. Cool. I think that's everything I wanted to say. So your time, everyone.
James, thank you so much. Amazing as ever. And the support that the team at Planet Mark give to businesses in navigating their net zero targets and genuine ownership of their carbon footprint is absolutely incredible. I know that we'd be lost without them at Includability and Disrupt. So please do reach out to James to book in a call should you wish. You'll be very well looked after. They're an incredible bunch. James, thank you again. It's wonderful to have you with us. As always, mate, thank you. And now, just before I introduce our final guest, I'd love you to vote for a charitable project that we can support on your behalf this morning through our partnership with B1G1. Now, if you haven't heard of B1G1, please do check them out. They're an incredible B Corp that supports hundreds of charitable projects, both in the UK and internationally, all positively impacting the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So you are doing an incredible thing for the planet simply by being awesome and just hanging out with us this morning. So yeah, you. Chris is going to drop these into the chat feed now. 3 projects to choose from, and simply pop the letter of your chosen project in the feed, A, B, or C. Project A is providing clean access or access to clean water to families in Cambodia. Project B is planting trees for forest protection in India. And Project C is gifting 5 textbooks to disadvantaged children in Kenya. 3 amazing projects. Please choose one that is closest to your heart, and we'll make sure that we'll do that on your behalf without fail. And as you cast your votes, I'm delighted to introduce our final guest speaker, a global superstar, Chief Mindfulness Rebel with an upcoming TEDx gig just around the corner, mental health campaigner, includability partner expert, and ADHD advocate, the utterly brilliant Amy Polly. Amy, just wonderful to have you with us, and the virtual floor is all yours.
Dave, you're so cute. Can you just follow me around and introduce me everywhere I go? Because you're doing so
I
much.
can't, I'll be arrested again. I can't.
Oh, you made me have some little tears there. Thanks, darling.
Love you.
Hi. So I am going to be really quick today. I just wanted to come in with a reminder. But before I get stuck in, I'll just tell those of you that don't know me, I'll just do a quick intro. So as you can see, my name's Amy Polly, and I was an accountant for nearly 20 years. I know, shock horror, but I was. I still had a pink car, by the way. And then in my last role, I was in the fire service, and I sat on the senior leadership team. So I managed finance, property and payroll. But whilst I was there, I was very open about my own mental health and about my mindfulness journey, which I only ever started for myself and my mum. And I was then given also the role of strategic lead for mental health and wellbeing in the fire service. So I worked on the mental health and wellbeing strategy and the action plan, so led a team to create that. But then I reached Katie, Burnout, because I was trying to manage 3 departments, and we'd been through COVID, and I was going through a relationship breakup and moving house and everything else. So yeah, it all got a little bit too much. And after being signed off and having some time of reflection, my boss came to my house. He was a lovely fella, and he just said to me, "Do you really want to be with us anymore?" And I'd been teaching mindfulness to mums on the side for quite a while. I started speaking at events, which he was aware of. And when he asked me that question, my answer was no. So I just jumped into the world of entrepreneurship with both feet, which I'm not quite sure that's the answer to burnout, but hey ho, here we are. And so now I teach mindfulness to organisations and in schools and one-to-one. And I talk about mental health and wellbeing in the workplace. And I am an ADHD advocate because I was diagnosed in 2021 during that time where I was really struggling. And when my doctor first said it to me, my response was, really? I'd Googled everything, by the way. And when she mentioned ADHD, I was thinking, are you sure? But thankfully, I had a really good GP and she led me through that process. And so here we are now. One thing I want to talk about today is the fact that I just want to give you a reminder that it's Neurodiversity Celebration Week, the 18th to the 24th of March. And it took me a good year to talk about this stuff publicly because I had to have conversations in my home with my mum and my dad and my partner and my friends because I was 37 years old and it really took some unpicking for me to have the confidence to talk about it out loud. I still have to work on that confidence because of the amount of negativity that we see in the press and online around ADHD and neurodiversity. But even more than my own journey and navigating that, what it also gave me was a fire in my belly to actually go out and talk about it and to be the positive voice and to show people what neurodiversity actually means and what ADHD looks like in real life, which is this. And so now I run ADHD awareness sessions, but do you know what? I've just sat here and I didn't really write anything down today. I didn't prepare any slides because I'd like to just talk to you from my heart. And I sat here reflecting, thinking, Neurodiversity Celebration Week, that's really cool, isn't it? It's not Awareness Week, it's Celebration Week. And I was thinking, maybe my session should be called Celebration Sessions, Neurodiversity Celebration Sessions. I like that. Maybe I'll nick that. Because I really think that we have more awareness now, but we don't have much celebration. And if I think back to when I was in the fire service, I was always the one that maybe stuck out a little bit, not just because I wore pink, but I always had different ideas. I always knew that I was the one in the room that was going to be thinking differently or saying things that people maybe didn't quite get when I first said it. But I actually think that that's really necessary in the workplace. So if we're thinking about raising that awareness and celebrating things, we really have to realize that we do actually need different brains, and we need different people, different perspectives, different experiences. And so really, this is just not just a reminder, but also to encourage you to please, not just that week, but always think about what you are doing to raise awareness for and celebrate your neurodiverse colleagues and the people that you work with, the people that you're surrounded by, those in your family. And I'm just going to leave you with a little bit of feedback that I received. And I'm not blowing smoke at my arse. I promise you, go look at my LinkedIn. The recommendations are there. This is true. So when I ran some sessions recently, I had a young guy message me on LinkedIn afterwards and said, I have been struggling with my mental health for a long time. I didn't realize that this might be something I need to look into. I've gone and asked for help, and I have not felt this good in a very long time. That made me cry. The second was another sort of youngish chap messaged me on LinkedIn and said, your session was so wonderful. My dad also works in the same organisation, and when we went to the pub at the weekend, we spoke about ADHD and neurodiversity. So that one made me like, so excited. And then I was doing a session for a really large global insurance group, and one of their senior leadership team actually disclosed his ADHD whilst we were on the call, towards the end of the call. And so again, another shining moment of just giving people the space, the confidence, and the ability to be able to be who they are and to share that and to speak about it. So, you know, I'm not one, really, if you look at all my stuff, I often call out awareness weeks and things because it irritates me a little bit, because I feel like there's such a bigger picture than just the awareness day or the awareness week. But it is a good springboard. It is a good catalyst for conversations. So think about what you're going to do that week. Think about who you need to engage with. Obviously, also think longer term, but it just goes to show that we think maybe 1 hour of someone's day might not make a difference, but imagine if it did. So this is your reminder. It's Neurodiversity Celebration Week coming up. Talk to your colleagues, talk to your managers, think about what you're going to do. Don't just forget about it after that week, and let's celebrate all being different. And I'm just going to leave you with this. Fidget toys, by the way. I was so like, I just got them. I had them all for a session the other day. Can we make this normal as well, please? Because when we're sitting on Zooms, I need this. I remember once I disclosed my ADHD and some bloke told me to sit still, and I was like, oh. So now these are really helpful. So I just wanted to show you all my fidget aids, because I think we should normalize this for adults. It's normal to have these. It's helpful. Okay, that's it. I'm done. Thank you.
Amy, you're amazing. Thank you. Just utterly awesome and inspirational as ever. Incredible. Thank you so much. And as Amy rightly says, with Neurodiversity Celebration Week fast approaching, you have a brilliant awareness speaker right there. Her sessions are incredible. Please do reach out to Amy for availability. She's just fabulous. What a superstar. Amy, thank you again. Such a trailblazer. And we love you very, very much. One super important thing to note on top of that, of course, is the date of our next employee support group. That will be happening on Wednesday, the 27th March at 10:30 a.m. Well, we'll be hosting the amazing Victoria Hardy, Gunraj Arora, M Sharp, and Emma Palmer. I think we've got Victoria on the call as well. Victoria, give us a wave. There's Victoria. She's amazing. Covering really brilliant hot topics: psychological safety in the workplace, the Equalities Act, menopause allyship, and deaf awareness. Please do join us. We would love to see you there. And that registration link is in the chat feed for you now. Thank you so much, Chris. Absolutely brilliant. And that brings us to the end of our ESG this morning. A huge thank you to our brilliant guest speakers, to Laura, to Katie, to James and Amy. What unbelievable legends you all are. Thank you for all of your insights and for sharing your wisdom with us today. And from James, Chris, Danny and myself on the whole team at Includability and Disrupt Agency, a huge, huge thank you to every single one of you for joining us this morning. Let's keep working in partnership to develop that mentally healthy and inclusive workplace culture. Can't wait to see you all next month. Love to you all and have an incredible rest of your week. Take care, everyone. Thank you again.